we do know who is in the Baseball Hall of Fame, the newest additions. Again, any surprises there for you? We have 2 first-time ballot Hall of Famers and somebody in their 6th year making it. We have Adrian Beltre and Joe Mauer getting elected on their first-time ballots. And on his 6th time around, Rockies legend Todd Helton has been elected to the Hall of Fame.
Man, he was only good because of Coors. Let's be real here.
How dare you?
I could have been a Hall of Famer in that ballpark.
Right.
Darn it.
He might be right.
No, Todd Helton, absolutely deserving. I get very irritated when people make that kind of argument because I don't think it holds weight for a number of different reasons. But yes, Todd absolutely.
The man has a career 953 OPS, though. I do have to question if he would have a career 953 OPS if he didn't play.
Yeah. It would be lower.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily need, you don't necessarily need 953 in order to get into the Hall of Fame.
It's
right?
Just wild, though, for a 17-year career to have a career OPS of 953, a career average of 316. Oh, hell yeah. That's a little Stone Cold reference for you, Jesse.
I didn't get it.
Yeah,
which I'm sure shocks you.
But
he hit 372 in the year 2000, Todd Helton. You can
372.
You can Coors the situation all you want. I don't think that's going to explain a 372 batting average. You don't see the Ezekiel Tovar and Ryan McMahons of the world quite approaching that. Right. So yeah, Todd Helton, outstanding player, certainly deserved it. Glad he finally got in. I think it took a little bit too long. Kind of pleasantly surprised, honestly, that both Joe Mauer and Adrian Beltre also got in the first in this first ballot. No surprise with Adrian Beltre. The surprise is more that Joe Mauer got in immediately.
Yeah.
And Billy Wagner also came pretty close.
So close.
To getting in.
Close.
And I'm a little disappointed with that. I certainly would have Billy Wagner on my ballot and think he's deserving, but
5 votes shy of making the Hall of Fame.
He was really close, but he's in really good position to get in next year. I believe next year will be his last year on the ballot, and he should be just fine.
Joe Mauer is just the 3rd catcher in history to make it in on a first time ballot, and we know eventually Gabriel Moreno will be part of that list too. I'm sure.
Who are the other first time ballot guys, like Johnny Bench and Yogi Berra?
I think it's Johnny Bench and Pudge, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yogi Berra wins like 7 rings, and they don't put him in first ballot. Guy's like, what do I got to do?
Well, what does Gary Sheffield have to do? He received 63.9% of the votes. It was his final year on the ballot.
Yeah,
he is just the 8th player in MLB history to get 60% or more in his final year on the ballot without being elected, and that just feels like a miss, right? I know Gary Sheffield might not have the best career numbers, but I mean, whose batting stance do we all do right now when we get a wrapping paper tube in our hand, right? If you're not doing the Gary Sheffield batting stance, you're not holding a piece of cardboard tube in your hand correctly.
This is fair. But I will say, I think that purely based on the numbers, Gary Sheffield is a Hall of Famer, undoubtedly. It's just the steroid stuff, right?
That's fair.
And I think I haven't dug too deep into this, but from what I know, it sounds like Gary Sheffield's situation is more defensible than other people who were part of that. Hence why he did get as close as he got. But yeah, I mean, 500 career home runs, career OPS of 907, career OPS plus of 140. Nearly 3,000 hits.
World Series champion.
Yeah, he's got the numbers for it in my mind, for sure. But I think at the end of the day, there's just people are still on edge about those kind of narratives, and I think that's why he fell short.
Which is just crazy to me, because I get the idea here of performance enhancing drugs, even in the time, separate those that are doing it in the league, right, from those that aren't. But in modern day era, we don't have drugs. We just have all sorts of enhancements that people can do as athletes, right? Not to say they're illegal, but I'm saying like some people just have better trainers than other people. Like there's advantages to be had no matter what when you're talking in baseball. Sometimes those advantages are just the fact that some players have more money than other players to be able to essentially invest back into their career, right? So it is kind of a wild thing when we start acting like that time that there was just a certain amount of guys that were, part of the performance enhancing drug thing, and that was a big separator between them and the rest of the players in the league at the time. I don't know, but
I get it with some, like, I think A-Rod, I understand more. I mean, there's a reason that A-Rod is getting, he got 34.8%,
right.
You know, about half of what Sheffield got. If you compare their numbers, it's obvious that A-Rod was the better player.
Correct.
But his steroid situation is not as defensible as Gary Sheffield. So
yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, that's probably the difference there.
You have Andrew Jones, known father of future D-backs legend and future Hall of Famer Drew Jones.
Correct.
He received 61.6% of the votes in his 7th year on the ballot. You think he'll get in next year? You think next year's his year?
I don't know if next year is, but I think he's in a good spot. I
Yeah.
think he'll get
He
there
has the
eventually.
time. He has the time to get there.
He's got some time. Yeah.
Unlike Billy Wagner, who only has one more year on the ballot.
But at 73.8, I think he's basically a shoo-in for next year.
Yeah.
I think Billy Wagner will be okay.
I agree. Falling off the ballot, Jose Batista, Victor Martinez, Bartolo Colon. That's a miss.
That's tragic.
Matt Holliday, Adrian Gonzalez, good riddance. Brandon Phillips, Jose Reyes, and James Shield. Adrian Gonzalez sprayed me in the face with champagne. I'll never forgive him for that. But
shout out to Brandon Phillips for getting a vote. Someone voted for him. Yeah, fun player, but not quite a Hall of Famer.
Manager Jim Leland gets the call to the Hall. Right, that's a legendary manager in the game of baseball. I want to get back to Todd Helton really fast, just because Todd Helton, to me, in my lifetime, was the first big outrageous contract in sports that I ever remember. I think it was,
what was it?
9 years, 140 million, 141 million, something like that.
Yeah, 9 years, 141.
Yeah. And
that is a big contract.
It was like one of the biggest contracts in baseball ever. It was one of the biggest contracts given to a guy who had only been in the league for like 3 or 4 years or something like that at the time. But it was also like, I don't know. Like, it's funny because, again, Todd Helton never really got the credit he deserved. When you look at his career numbers, he was consistently good.
Yeah.
He was consistently good. He was consistently great. I mean, his first year in the league was like one of 5 seasons in his entire career where he hit below 300. That's crazy. That's crazy. His second year in the league, he's hitting 315. Third year, 320. Like you said, in 2000, 372, 463, 698 with a 1.162 OPS. He led all of baseball in batting average. He led all of baseball in slugging percentage. He led all of baseball in total bases, RBI, doubles. It was wild this season he had. And I mean, that was the season that they gave him that money, right? Like, a guy hits 372, you sign him. It doesn't care how many years or how much money he gets.
The best part about that year, though, where do you think Todd Helton finished in MVP voting the year that he hit 372? Maybe you have this in front of you. I don't know. He finished 5th.
Baseball was a wild place.
Yeah, if you go back and you look at like some of the awards voting from 20, 30 years ago, it'll make the sabermetrician in me boil over. But yeah, in 2000, Jeff Kent won the MVP award.
Oh, Jeff Kent
had worse numbers across the board. Barry Bonds was in second. Similar numbers. I think Bonds maybe had a better case than Jeff Kent. Obviously they were teammates. Mike Piazza third. Jim Edmonds came in fourth. And then it was Todd Helton at number 5.
Barry Bonds made
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.